and welcome to Quick Tips for Student Organizations. My name is Stacy, and I know as well as anybody that planning events can be hard work, but it can also be very rewarding. If you follow these steps, your organization will be able to plan the next great event on campus. The first thing you should do is figure out what type of event would be best for your group. Ask yourself, what are the goals of our group? Are you here to educate, to entertain, or just to show people something completely different? Another thing to consider is your price range. Set a maximum budget and make sure to only look at programs within your price range so that you won't be disappointed by things you can't afford. If you happen to find an amazing event that's just too pricey, you can consider approaching other organizations that might be interested to ask them to co-sponsor the event with you. Once you figure out what type of event you want to plan, check with the Center for Student Enrichment for a variety of materials about speakers, novelty acts, bands, and comedians. Once you have a list of potential acts, it's a good idea to discuss them with the members of your organization during your weekly meetings. A key thing to remember is that if your entire organization is excited about an event, other students will be too. You can also use the surveys to get a better idea of what students around campus think. That being said, you'll never please everyone on campus, so just shoot for a majority of students and hopefully your event will attract more interest than expected. Consider putting on your event early in the semester. This can help boost attendance since everyone's excited about being back on campus and not a whole lot is going on yet. It can also keep your members involved over break. Before you decide on a date, be sure to check NMU's master calendar online and the event calendar in the Center for Student Enrichment. Although it's awesome for students to have a lot of events to choose from on campus, it's not so great if they're all on the same night. Make sure your event isn't on the same night as another one so that you're not competing with another show or stepping on another group's toes. Looking at the calendar can also help you to see what kinds of shows have been brought to campus lately. You don't want to repeat events that have been recently sponsored. When choosing a date, you'll also want to consider your timeline. Generally, the more time you give yourself, the easier it is to plan, but the amount of time you need varies with the size and type of the event. For large shows, such as concerts, give yourself at least 6 weeks to prepare. For smaller ones, you can get by with about 4 weeks of planning. You'll also want to make sure that the venue is available before you commit to the event. Sometimes your location can be determined by your organization, but sometimes you're bound to one because of ceiling heights or seating requirements. Be aware that venues like the Vandeman Arena and the Barry Event Center will have less openings than other smaller venues, so make sure the dates available correspond with when the talent can perform before making your final decision. Once you decide on a performer or speaker, you'll need to find funding. If you're putting on an educational event, you may be able to get some funding from the department. Talk to your advisor or department head for more information. Another possibility is the Student Finance Committee, which funds most of the major events on campus. In order to request funding, you'll need to start by filling out a budget request form and schedule a meeting to discuss your organization's needs. Once the facility and funding are secured, you can begin to deal with contracts. Contracts are binding agreements, but they can be negotiated. Under no circumstances should you, as a student, sign the contract. Work with the Center for Student Enrichment or the Student Finance Committee to make sure the contracts go through the proper channels at NMU. As your event draws nearer, you'll want to get everything ready for production. Create a checklist that tells you everything you need to do for promotion, production, and hospitality. Consider assigning an officer to head up each group and ask your members to volunteer for whichever group they want to be in. Use the checklist to assign each member a duty to perform, whether it's calling to reserve a hotel room or taking tickets at the event. Promotion is probably the most important part of planning your event. No matter how awesome your event is, it's not going to matter if no one knows about it. Organize a promotional campaign. Consider working with promotional services to help you create the promotional materials, including posters and table tents. After the posters are printed, get your members involved by having them put them up in the posting areas around campus. You can also use the Northwind for ads in an article, and Radio X for a short commercial or just an on-air mention. Usually, the larger the event, the more promotion you're going to want to do. If you're trying to attract the general public in addition to students, put some posters up around town and consider advertising with the local media. Finally, you'll want to enjoy your event while it's going on. You deserve to get something out of all your hard work. But after it's done, it's important to evaluate your event with your group. How did it go? What went well? What should be done differently the next time you plan an event? Keep copies of your evaluations on hand so you don't have to start from scratch the next time. If you follow these steps, I know your event will turn out great. But if you're still looking for help, you can check out our other QuickTips videos or stop by the Center for Student Enrichment.